looking glass. Fingers trace the lines of the years that passed. Smears of lies upon the lips of someone standing by. Yep. No, it'll never be me looking at you. No, it'll never be me looking at you that way. Mother keeps the photograph of a child that's dead. The child of the fading name that's never said. Bright fantasies of the child's life are spinning.
I didn't. Good afternoon. I think we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing is to determine if we have a quorum. Mr. Lawhorn?
We have 8 members present. We do have a quorum.
Okay, and then we all have copies of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions regarding last meeting's minutes? I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Simmons?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Whited. Okay,
Need a vote.
all in favor?
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Sorry.
Nope.
No, none opposed. Okay, we'll move on to reports from me. I just want to thank all the commissioners for your commitment to being here, being on time, because we have a really solid representation and we're happy about that. And any commissioners have any comments at this time? Okay.
Oh, we need to introduce.
I thought you had been here once before. I'm sorry. Okay, okay. Ebony, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello,
Okay.
everybody. I am Dr. Ebony Winford. I'm the Director of Research and Health Equity at Cherokee Health Systems, also a licensed clinical psychologist. I am the newbie on the crew. I know, so I'm excited. My friend Dustin here just made me feel welcome. And so he asked why I'm here, and I was sharing my story about growing up. We didn't have a car until I was 10. We used a cab to get groceries. Everything else was bus. And being a clinical service provider, a lot of our patients use this system, and so we have a vested interest, so I'm excited to be here. please call me Ebony. There's no need for doctor. I just say it when I introduce myself. But thank you for having me. And
Welcome, Ebony.
ready
We're
to
glad you're
serve.
here, and we're glad to have your voice of advocacy here on the commission. So thank you. And we'll turn over to the staff for their updates.
Just a couple of things. Want to briefly talk about last week's winter storm and just want to thank all of our employees for the work they did in that. Also want to thank our customers for their patience as we worked through that storm. With our employees, just the starting and stopping, the fact that we had to run snow routes to severe routes to suspend service to start back service and to suspend it again and then go back to severe snow routes. It was a lot of change. We were digging ourselves out of the bus lot and the parking lot. So kudos to our employees. And again, thank you for the patience of our customers as we work for those conditions. And my hope is that we don't get another storm like that for another 30, 40 years. That would be great. Other update is mobile ticketing. As the board knows, we launched that November 8th. We've had 23,347 trips taken by customers using that mobile ticketing app for November and December. I think as we go through the next 2 quarters, a lot more customers will be utilizing that. Those numbers will increase. I think right now there's probably some early adapters, but I think that app and the customers using it will take off over the next 2 months. It's been great for us. And then the last update, again, I've been updating the board several months now on our improvement workforce shortage. So right now we're at 183 operators, 22 of which are in training. We have delayed the start of our January new training class until February because of this winter storm, but we'll probably add another 15 operators into the training class. So we're in a really good shape right now. That's the reason why, too, later on, we're making this recommendation to add and increase service. So that's my update.
Doug?
Thank you. Since we have a new commissioner, I'll introduce myself. I'm Doug Burton. I work with the Knoxville Regional Transportation Planning Organization. I'm not a voting member of the board. I'm up here for more, I guess, technical expertise. But the Transportation Planning Organization is what's called a metropolitan planning organization. And any city across the country that has a population of 50,000 or more has an MPO. And we're housed at Knoxville and Knox County Planning. And we have a couple of things that we're required to do, and one is to do a long-range transportation plan that looks out over the next 25 years. So we're kicking off what's called the Mobility Plan 2050, and it has to focus on all modes. It deals with vehicles, pedestrians, both like greenways and sidewalks, transit. We even touch on freight and other issues like that. So there are some working groups. I remember I made an announcement here that if any of the commissioners were interested in participating on those, to let me know. And Commissioner Durham, we're getting ready to do some work sessions. Did you get an invite on that? Do you know?
That's the one next Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, great. If someone else said they wanted to be on it and they didn't get one of those notices, let me know. But we are going to start having our first round of public meetings, and we have 2 on the books so far. One is on Monday, February 12th, and it will be at CAT Central Station. It's going to be from 4 to 7. I don't know if you remember some of the earlier CAT Reimagine meetings. It's going to be kind of where you can just walk in and participate, but we will periodically have very short presentations to kind of give you some insight of what we're doing. So you can either walk in and participate or hang around for one of those sessions. So it's between 4 and 7. The other one is in Maryville at the Blount County Library. And I failed to mention my organization, we serve Knox, Blount, Loudoun, and Anderson. So we have a little bit more of a regional component. That's why we'll be having some of these meetings out in different counties. But those are the 2 we have on the books. We do have a website dedicated to the mobility plan. It's called knoxmobility.org. So we'll have more details about other meetings and what's going to go on as part of this process there. So look for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And now for new business, we have proposed April service improvements.
Yeah, I just want to make a brief comment. Again, this is something we talked about with the board in November, December. I'm really excited about this, that we're going to be providing additional service. We've been on reduced service now for 3 years, just over 3 years. So we are finally in a good spot with our workforce that we can now introduce some additional services. It's not going to get us back to the pre-COVID level, but I think it's really, really important for our customers that we get back to providing good service to them. And I'm going to turn it over to Belinda, who's going to talk about that. You can introduce the Homeward.
Okay. So the information is in your packet, and I'll go over that. But before I do that, I want to introduce Umar Tennessee. He is our new planning manager, and he's fabulous. I'm so excited he's with us. He actually was with Kat many years ago, 2010s, not many years, I mean for me, and went on to various other locations, Memphis, Atlanta, the private sector, and continued to learn and learn and learn, and now he's come back to us. And so a lot of what you're seeing here, he dove right in. Not quite 2 weeks now, and I mean, we just, here it is, do it. So, so we really appreciate it. We're so excited to have Umar with us. So just wanted to introduce him. So you will see in your packet a memo that has a summary of what our proposed service improvements are. And when I say service improvements, what I mean is going back to the service we were providing pre-COVID, pre-workforce shortage. So we really have reached a point in our workforce that we're able to bring some of that service back. So it's very exciting to finally be able to do that. And so this is just, I'll kind of go over sort of the summary, and then you can kind of see the theme as you go through the different timetables. We cut off a lot of evening service, and it's bringing that back. It's bringing back one frequency, but really it's just kind of building back up to where we were pre-pandemic. So the first thing, and probably the biggest thing for our passengers, is to bring back the Sunday service time span that we originally had. We have had to cut that off at a 5:15 lineup, and so we're bringing it back to that 8:15 lineup. And so that would be for everything that runs on Sunday. The other things that we are proposing to bring back are going back to that last trip on a lot of the services that we had to cut back on. And so you can see that list: 17 Sutherland, Route 20 Central, 23 Millertown, 32 Dandridge, 33 MLK, and 42 Fort Sanders UT Medical Centers. All of those we had to chop off the evening. And so all of those we're proposing go back to that 11:15 lineup, which is a wonderful thing. And the other really big thing, and we had been hearing about this, and some of you might have even remembered this from Cat Reimagined and other things, is returning that Route 42, our medical center route, back to 30-minute service. And so that's item 3. Item 4 is, again, just sort of extending that service that we had before for our Burlington route. It ran until 10:15, so bringing that back. The 13 had been cut off in the morning and in the evening. It's bringing that back. And then so those are kind of the main bringing service back. There are some other details and proposals we have as part of this. And what our strategy is with this is trying to get a little bit ahead of Cat Reimagined so that we can be sure we meet all the goals we want to meet for August. So a lot of things did not change in South Knoxville. But we also are trying to really closely look at South Knoxville to make sure that what's running is successful when we start Cat Reimagined. And so what some of this proposal is sort of our start of Cat Reimagined in a way that sort of tweaks the South Knoxville routes to ensure they will be successful. So, for example, Route 41, that's the first one on this list, has really continued to increase in ridership. And it's a long route, and so the more people ride it, the more you have to stop on this kind of busy road. And it's affected our on-time performance with that. And so if the logical thing if you have an on-time performance problem is to add another bus. Remember, CAT Reimagined is cost neutral. So the first thing we want to do is try to make the route as efficient as we can, and that is what we're doing with this proposal. So what it entails is leaving downtown via the Gay Street Bridge instead of the Henley Street Bridge and returning that way. In talking with our operators, we get stuck on the Henley Bridge, backing up, especially in the afternoon. And so we're going to take the shortcut over Gay Street and try to make that more consistent through the day. The other thing is at the end of the route. This is kind of a crazy idea, but we discussed it amongst several operators and our team and want to go ahead and try it. So we all know that taking right turns can be easier than waiting on a left-hand light. Right now, the way our routing is in the Majestic Grove Shopping Center, we're waiting on left-hand lights. And so it's kind of a crazy loop-de-loop, but it's all right-hand turns. So what our goal is with that, after we went out and did some timing, is it saves us a little time, but more it saves us that consistency of, are we going to get the light or are we not going to get the light? And so that is the proposal that you'll see in here with a bunch of loops and arrows. That is us trying to make that 41 a little faster and more consistent and see how that does for our on-time performance for that route. So that is one of the first things we're trying to do there, and that is item A. We also are proposing to remove on Route 45 Vestal this small little diversion of about 2 blocks. Our goal with transit is always to make things run as smoothly and straightforward as possible. And so you will see that it's on the last page here. You can see a big green kind of diversion here. What we're proposing is to stay straight. And what the reason for that is, one, just general efficiency in keeping that bus moving, but also the fact that this area is less than a quarter mile from Chapman and the 45 route if we keep it straight. So it was kind of a diversion that we did for a new complex when it went in years ago. But what we're finding is that we feel like it would be more efficient just to stay straight because it's not that far to travel within that area, and you can really reach 2 different routes actually. So that's that proposal. Also with the 40 South Knoxville and the 45 Vestal, same departure from downtown using the Gay Street Bridge instead of Henley, again, to try to keep that on-time performance more consistent. And then the other piece to that is bringing back, you may see, we just cut off that last 9:15 trip at the end of the line with workforce shortages. We want to bring it back. So it's just bringing back that last little bit so connections can be made to any 10-15 lineups or anything. So that's that part. And then the final piece you have seen before, which was the kind of demonstration route that we did for Route 34. We revised that route. Again, this was an on-time performance issue where we had, with the redevelopment of First Creek at Austin, certain roads disappeared that we took, so we started detouring, and then we had to continue to detour further and further for different ways that the complex developed. And so we ended up having to detour all the way to Magnolia, and that truly affects your on-time performance if you're diverting that far. And so we looked at ridership, we looked at on and offs, and we looked at other opportunities in that area, of which there are other routes. Another route follows that same area along Harriet Tubman. So this was that proposal to let's see how this works. We did that several months back as a demonstration. We talked to you all about that and said, let's see how it goes. If we like it, we're going to bring that back to you all as a permanent route change, and that's what this is. So we would like to ask that that be a permanent route change. So essentially, this the Route 34 would essentially stay on Summit Hill to Knoxville Station, inbound and outbound, instead of diverting along MLK Harriet Tubman and then on from there to what became a really long detour. So that's item 7 of all of the items that we are proposing for April. This would take effect April 8th. And so what we would suggest is that we will notify the public of these proposed changes. And then we will bring back to you the Title VI analysis next month. I haven't run all of the numbers, but I think that there may be some that would merit a public hearing. So I might recommend we might as well have a public hearing if you so desire, just so the public is aware that we're proposing these changes. And that would be for next month, and would also, we would need the vote to take place next month for approval of these changes to allow us the time to get everything ready for April the 8th.
Let me clarify, are you saying that you believe that we are required to have a public hearing? I don't know that I feel that I don't think there's anything wrong with one.
Okay.
And if there's I just want to make sure the record's clear that whether we are required to have one or not.
Okay, I couldn't remember, so I get my Title VI and my public hearing confused. If it's the 25% increase in route miles, I think that's the Title VI, but it's
that's
not
my
the public
question.
hearing. Okay, so we don't need a public hearing because all of this is service increases and the routes themselves have not changed significantly enough that we need a public hearing. Thank you for that. Yes, I always get those two confused.
But there's certainly
You
plenty
can,
of
but
merit
it's
to
not
have
required.
a public hearing.
Yeah.
So I just want, from a legal standpoint, I don't believe we are required to, but there's never anything wrong with a public hearing.
Oh, yes, exactly. So either way. Now, I will say this. The other thing that I'm thinking about is from a communication standpoint is we want to let the public know about this, but we're going to turn around in 2 months and give you CAT Reimagined. And that is going to be a huge communication effort. And so I don't want the public to be like, what are you doing? You just did something, you know? So we are going to be very mindful about how we communicate these proposals as opposed to the big proposal that will go public in March at the board meeting in March. So
based on I agree, a lot of public notice on so close may lead to some confusion.
yeah. Yeah.
If we're going to have a large public hearing on CAT Reimagined, I do wonder if maybe we just try to get as much publicity out about these changes without putting a public notice out there. That would be my only concern, is doing two right back to back like that.
Yeah, agreed.
And so then we would vote at the next meeting about these changes? Okay.
Yes.
Then we will do that, take that into consideration. And then now we have old business for the nominating committee. John?
I would like to report on behalf of the nominating committee that the nominating committee is just worn out. I don't remember when, let me report first that the members of the nominating committee this year were myself, Candace Brakewood, and Joel Simmons. I feel like we are close to family members at this point, as much as we've been communicating with each other over the past week and a half. We've together fretted over daycare openings and closings and driveway meltings and pulling Google up on Commissioner Simmons' driveway to see what the status looks like, and a lot of effort was put into it. Made some great friends along the way, and we tried to meet. We tried to meet several times, and I think did everyone receive the email I sent out? So the first course of business we have is that despite our efforts, the committee violated the bylaws of this commission in that we are required under the bylaws to meet and report back to the KTA within no less than a week with our recommendations. We were unable to do that. We would have met remotely had we been allowed to under law. We used to be able to do that during COVID. that allowance for COVID expired. So we do have to meet in person pursuant to a public hearing notice. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that until the 22nd. So I'm going to ask initially for a motion, if the KTA is so inclined, to waive the violation of the bylaws in the 1 week requirement. We did. We tried our best, but we certainly didn't want to ask anybody to come down when it was difficult. So, Madam Chair, I would ask if someone would be willing to make a motion to waive the noncompliance with the bylaws.
Seconded.
Do we have a vote approving the motion?
All in favor?
Thank you.
That was a lot easier than trying to move it.
So, after meeting on the 22nd, the committee has proposed a slate of officers for 2024. As I point out in the memorandum, we actually, before Commissioner Smith had to rotate off, this was going to be an easy year where we just renominated everybody for the positions. But we now have a vacancy in the chair. So after meeting and discussion, it was very quickly unanimous that the following recommendations be made. For the position of chair, Christy Kirk. For the position of vice chair, Candace Breakwood. And for the position of recording secretary, Annalisa Valentine. Now, under the bylaws, additional nominations may be made. As a result of the committee, those names are placed into nomination. Anyone can nominate others for any of these positions at this meeting. If there is a desire to do that, there is a caveat. You have to either have that get the permission of the person who you are nominating if they are here, or you have to have a signed piece of paper from them if they're not. So at this point, with those names being placed into nomination, are there any other names placed into nomination for any position? All right, that being the case, Madam Chair, we just need a motion on the nominating commission's slate of officers for 2024.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Opposed?
The ayes have it.
All right, I'd like, Madam Chair, you get to keep that chair, I guess. Again, in all seriousness, I would like to thank Commissioner Simmons and Breakwood for all the concern. I mean, there was effort made. There was a great deal of effort made, and it was a challenge. And there were times I think there was some willingness to show up, and I just felt we probably didn't need to. So appreciate everybody's effort.
Thank you. Did anyone sign up for public comments, Ms. Valentine? No. Okay. Well, in that case, then we're adjourned. We'll meet on February the 22nd. Thank you all for being here.
That was, I'm gonna bring my easy button.